Are your kitchen knives sharp and easy to use? And when you sharpen them, do they stay sharp or do they get dull quickly? I am David Abbott, owner and operator of Knife Sharpening by Abbott here in Everett, Washington. I sharpen kitchen knives for home cooks, for chefs and line cooks, and for restaurants. I have over 25 years experience making and sharpening knives. This is my first video though, so if it's a little rough around the edges, please excuse me. Now, most people think that easy to use knives are simply sharp knives. But I will show you why sharp is only half of the picture. The other half is right here, just behind the edge of the knife. You've got your sharp edge here, and then right behind that is this part here. If this part is thick, it's like using a knife that's shaped like this to slice through food, and it splits it rather than just cleanly slicing it. And if, on the other hand, a knife is very thin, right behind the sharp edge, then it's like using this kind of action, and it just goes right through. But I don't expect you to take my word for it. I'm going to give you a demonstration. This is about a 1-inch thick section of sweet potato, and as you know, sweet potato is pretty close to the hardest thing to slice through in the kitchen, other than, like butternut squashes, that sort of thing. So this is a knife that is very thick, but just behind the edge, but it's also very sharp right at the edge. So I'm going to compare that with this one that is equally sharp, but very thin behind the edge. So watch the effort that it takes me to do this, and also listen to the sound as the knife goes through the sweet potato. That was kind of a splitting sound, and I don't know if you can see these, but where it cut through, it didn't actually cut the sweet potato, it split the sweet potato, basically pushed it apart. Now, let's try with a knife that is very thin on the edge. Did you hear and see the difference between the two? It's a pretty strong difference. Okay, now the thick knife again. You can see how it actually split off another little piece there. So that's the difference between these two. And the reason I'm showing this to you is that if you are like over 90% of my first time customers, most of your knives are like this. They're very thick behind the edge. And there's two problems associated with that. One you just saw. It's harder to use it. It takes more energy. And I wouldn't want to use this knife for 12 hours a day as a line cook. I would want to use this one. Now, a word about these knives. These are both Victorinox Fibrox 8-inch chef's knives, and at only $45 a piece, they're pretty easy for just about anybody to buy for their kitchen. And they're, for the money, they're very good knives. They're very easy to sharpen, and they hold a decent edge, a really decent edge. So that's why I chose to use these knives for this demonstration. This knife here since I thinned the edge on it, cuts as well as this $200 handmade Japanese Gyuto knife. And it's pretty remarkable. You consider that this on the Rockwell C scale of hardness is about maybe 56 to 58, and this one is about 63 to 64. And yet, when this one is properly thinned, it cuts as well as this one. You have to hone it a little more often to keep the edge on it because it's not as hard as this one. But nonetheless, that's remarkable. And it doesn't take long to hone it. Let's see if I covered everything. So kitchen knives only need to be thinned about once every 4 to 6 or 7 years, depending on how heavily they're used, whether you use a glass cutting board, which is very hard on the edge of the knife, that sort of thing. If you take really good care of it, it won't need to be thinned for a very long time. So basically, thinning the knife is just an investment in saving yourself time and energy. And from my viewpoint as your knife sharpener, what I'm looking at is every time I sharpen a knife that is this thick right behind the edge, it takes as much time and energy and wears out my equipment as much as sharpening 4 of these. So that's why when you come to me with knives like this one that are thick behind the edge, I'm going to say you really need these knives thinned. So they're easier for me to sharpen and they're easier for you to use. For sharpening, I charge $1 per blade inch. And a blade inch is measured from here to here. It doesn't include the handle. And for thinning knives, I charge $2 per blade inch. And the thinning is very labor intensive. You basically have to start just behind the edge here and thin up at least to here, if not further. And so it's a 2-part process. One is the actual thinning, and then after that I clean up the blade and make it look nicer, so that unless it has really deep scratches that were already in it, when I'm done, it'll just have a really nice matte finish that's very consistent and pleasant to look at. So, call me, David Abbott, at Knife Sharpening by Abbott at 425-478-2274, and I will make your thick knives cut like $200 handmade Japanese knives. Thank you. And if you like this video, please click like and send it to your friends who might be interested in it.